Well, this is the one day in the year that who's ever in this role calls the meeting to order so the board can reorganize. So I would take nominations for chair, and then after that, the new chair will be taking nominations for vice chair. So I'll open it up to nominations.
Nominate Amy Lee for chair.
Okay.
Second.
There's been a nomination for Amy Lee to be chair. It's been seconded. Hearing it, no other nominations. Nominations are closed. All in favor? Amy Lee being chair.
Aye.
Opposed?
Think so.
Hearing none. Congratulations, Amy.
Thank you.
So you have to take nominations for a vice chair.
Okay, so we'll open up for nominations for vice chair. I would nominate Frank to be vice chair.
Second.
Okay.
I'll call for all those in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
So we're going to call the meeting to order.
You're all set?
All right. So we're going to start with agenda review and disposition.
I'm all set. I do need the non-public session for a student residency issue and the personnel issues as listed in the discussion items.
And motion to approve the minutes of March 4th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, privilege of floor number 1, my first duty. How exciting. Anyone like to speak? No? Okay. Principal's report.
Well, they say pictures were 1,000 words, so I am going to show a few pictures from this month. I'm really excited. I have 2 recognitions tonight. The first one is Reese Query. She's here. Reese, you want to come on up? Come on up, I'll stand with you. We want to congratulate Reese. Oh, please bring your plaque. Yeah. We love your plaque. So this is Reese Query. She's a 3rd grader, and she is the first Plymouth Elementary School student to achieve the 3rd grade Calendar Art Award. And she was recognized last Thursday down in Concord at the Fire Academy. So I wanted to make sure we gave a shout out because it's really special at Plymouth. We see this every year. It comes every year. We do try to do it every year. And so finally, Plymouth Elementary School is there. So we're really excited that you got the award.
Congratulations.
Very nice. Very nice.
Good job, Reese.
She's a lacrosse player too, right? There you go.
She's a lot of it. All going on. We're excited. So, and then my second, the second recognition, it really struck me when I walked into Silver Cultural Hall Arts, that beautiful lobby and all the displays, and then this was there. And of course, it's very educational. I was drawn right into it and realized it is created by our own Mrs. Greenler, who is here as well. And just, I get to see the work that goes on in her classroom on a daily basis, as in all of our classrooms. We're real believers in project-based learning and hands-on learning. But Alyssa has taken it to a really deep level. This is on her ecosystem, and I have a lot of notes on Alyssa. She's a believer in project-based learning, which is a foundation here at Plymouth Elementary School. But if you notice, you can't read everything that's up there, but she aligns everything to the standards, the next generation science standards. You'll see that she is, I think new this year, is doing more with integration of the arts, and that component is there. She expects and offers with every single project an authentic audience, which gives real power to the kids' engagement. And one of my favorite pieces is the family piece. She has a family night for each of these projects. And, you know, that in and of itself looks like a lot of real heart and soul, blood and guts in there. And that is really what Alyssa brings to our school every day. And, you know, just walking through her classroom, which I kind of almost like said, threatened, we might go up to your classroom because it's really fun to go through and see what the kids are doing. The other piece that I think teachers of today and of the future are need to be really skilled at conversations with students and asking probing questions. And Alyssa is a natural at that. I have watched her in action where she talks with students of all different interests and degrees of abilities, and she really pulls the most out of each student with her questions. And I think she is a real amazing teacher. In addition to that, she is a mentor teacher and instructor at Plymouth State University, and again, teaching teachers, which I think is amazing. And she is responsible for personally many partnerships in ours among Plymouth and beyond. So I just was really struck. This sort of symbolizes what Alyssa does on a daily basis, and it's really exemplary work. So I wanted to take some time and acknowledge the work of Alyssa and all of our work with project-based learning. I think it's important. So good job. So Dr. Seuss's birthday is March 2nd, and we celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday in schools across the country. Also pause to celebrate him and the impact on the joy of reading. At Plymouth Elementary School, we had 2 special school-wide treats. On Friday, March 22nd, we were visited by our very own, which is very special, our very own SAU 48 Cat in a Hat, aka Dr. Ethel Gatus, our assistant superintendent. She visited each classroom, every single classroom, and I happened to just walk behind her. And even in those hard 8th grade classes, those kids looked at the cat in the hat like they were so excited to see the cat in the hat. So it was really magical. And then she read to all of our primary students in the primary wing, Horton Hears a Who, her personal favorite. And then on Friday, the next Friday, March 29th, we had 22 Plymouth State University football players here. They visited and read to students throughout our building in classrooms from kindergarten through grade 7. The athletes brought their own children's books and read with great enthusiasm and demonstrated a really great rapport with students. Just energy around reading was just so positive. And I kudos to their captain, CJ Perillo. He reached out, wanted the kids to do something with community service. So that was a really nice way to celebrate Read Across America. And it was just great. So we also are grateful at Plymouth Elementary School. Many of our teachers reach out to the experts in the community. The 5th grade teachers reached out to Dr. Michael Sun, who is a professor at Plymouth State University in microbiology and parents of 2 PES students, to share his expertise around disease and bacteria, the spread of bacteria. So the students had just finished reading Fever, 1793, about the yellow fever in Philadelphia. And so it was a great connection, and he's super fun. He had the kids do, put their germs on this polymer, and then they went out, they went out to recess first, and then they came in, and did the hands. Anyway, they really got the idea around how quickly germs can grow, and they were really involved in that. So again, we are really grateful at Plymouth Elementary to have so many experts to come in and talk with our students. And then I think we were getting excited the last time we were together. We did have our Pi Day on March 14th, 3/14. We took some time school-wide to contemplate and learn more about why pie is relevant to learning today. Students rotated through 3 activities within their wing, and whether it was coding pie with Mr. Lines, in computers, to making the connections to space travel with Mrs. Panis. It was a great success. It was really a lot of fun, lots of smiles. And we also had lots of pie, P-I-E, in the evening when Pie Day activities were available for families to play. And just, again, wanted to shout out to Mrs. Panis and to Mr. Cushing, our 5th grade math teacher, and Mr. Greenler, who coordinated the events for each wing. And thank you to our PTA for their support in the evening with great food. So. And just last week, hot off the presses, our students were up at Waterville Valley, their conference center for the Conference for Technology Student Association. And I think the whole SAU, SAU 48, was very well represented and very powerful presence in this process. So again, I am always amazed at the focus on leadership, and we had 2nd and 3rd places for the leadership strategies team, but there really is, students have to focus on that. So that was exciting. And then before I do the grand finale, I do want to share that on March 16th, we hosted Tiger here for the middle school students, called Bystander, a portrait in apathy. And the performance was geared for this specific age and included little vignettes on exclusion, social media bullying, and solutions to things that the students can do and what it looks like. And the students, it really was very touching. We were a little like, how's this gonna look? It was excellent. And then students broke out in smaller groups. They didn't really have a lot of time, and that was our recommendation to the program, is maybe to have some more time to do small group conversation, and they had a chance to write. But from that whole bystander idea, we started to work on a positive recognition process, what we're calling shout outs in the middle school. And so taking the time every Friday afternoon, just for the last few minutes, and teachers giving shout outs to students who they see either really pushing it with academics, doing the work habits, the creativity, the self-direction, or their acts of kindness, mostly the acts of kindness. So so that's going on in the middle school. It's good work. And last but not least, this is a great picture, and you'll see it in our gallery that we have. But really, I don't think I say this every year. I think it was one of our best ever, if not the best ever. Just really great energy, and I think that I just want to send out kudos. I know how much work goes into it, how much time. I think that the directors did a great job choosing the play. And again, it's a community event, and I thought it was just outstanding. Great talent among our students. And I know that grand finale at the end, I think I keep saying it, but I swear, there's so much energy and joy coming out of those students. It's just really special. So I'm really grateful that we have that at Plymouth Elementary. So, and again, I have upcoming dates. April 10th, we have a grade 4 wax museum, which they've already done, and it's amazing. If you have time to come over and see it. And action students are dressed up as characters, important historic characters, from like Roald Dahl to Abraham Lincoln, great characters, and they do a great job. And then we have kindergarten connections coming up and a Memorial Day assembly, and we're hoping to recognize our fire chief, Clugston. So. That's all I have. And I can share this out with you if you want these dates.
Thank you.
All set?
All set.
Okay, so a few things to report on the athletic front. If you can believe it, after today's weather, our athletic spring teams have actually begun. Track and field got underway last Thursday on April 4th with a total of 43 athletes at this point, 19 boys and 24 girls. The softball team was able to get their practice in early this morning, and baseball was scheduled to start this afternoon, but they'll have to wait until tomorrow. Those two teams, right now we have 15 on the softball roster and 22 on the baseball roster. The track team is set to open their season on April 15th at Winnisquam, and softball and baseball teams will be opening at home here on April 30th versus Ashland. So we keep hoping for that sun to keep coming and melting it all away. Any of our athletes at this point that are still needing any sports physicals, they can be completed here at in our nurse's office with the help of Plymouth Pediatrics on Thursday, April 18th. A few safety updates. I just wanted to say thank you very much to our PES PTA and to the Plymouth Police Department for hosting another well-attended Avoid, Deny, Defend training back on March 26th. We had several members of our own PES staff that came back and attended that evening, along with a good variety of parents. And that training was done by Chief LaFave and Officer Rod Diamond. And as always, they did a great job. A lot of good questions were asked, and it was a good night. Our safety committee met on April 3rd, and we'll be holding our spring bus evacuation drill on May 1st with a rain date of May 2nd scheduled. Our committee also spoke about experimenting with a new system for taking attendance during our fire drills. So this spring we'll discuss it with our faculty and staff, but we'll be trying a system that essentially just involves a red card and a green card, laminated cards that you can either hold up your green card and it quickly identifies that your class is at 100% accounted for, or you show the red card if you have someone that is missing from your group. Maybe they were in transition to the bathroom or to the nurse's station, or they're with another staff member. So we're going to try to give that, experiment with that a little bit. I think we've done it. Julie had mentioned, at some point in the past. I know we did that at my previous school. The hope is that it'll lessen the radio traffic also, and just do a quicker accounting of all the students. I also had spoken with the safety committee and let them know that we will be holding a tabletop event on Tuesday, August 20th. That's one of our teacher workshop days when we return in the fall. This is done with the assistance of New Hampshire Homeland Security and our Plymouth Police Department, and very similar to what the high school did at one of their in-service days this fall. They will come in and present a variety of information and incidents, and actually take our faculty through presented scenarios. And it's a great opportunity for our faculty and staff to have a scenario put in front of them and then talk about it as to, okay, how would we react? What would we do? And it's good open conversation.
When is that, Kelly?
August 20th. We don't have a time set for it yet, whether it'll be, what time it'll be during the day, but as we get closer, probably to more towards the beginning of the summer, they'll get back to me on that, and we'll set that time. And again, within the safety committee, we also talked about, are there any suggested areas that they want to discuss, and so places like the playground, or what happens during an assembly or during a sporting event. Those are some of the areas that came out, so we can make suggestions to Homeland Security too, to maybe work around some scenarios such as that. So that's it on safety. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention last Friday, our middle school and grade 5 students gathered together in the gym for a pep rally to celebrate our winter sports teams and TSA and other groups. It was fun. The gym was loud and supportive. Our Bobcat mascot that day was Leo Ebner, and he had a lot of energy and led the charge. But the capstone event was the boys and girls 8th grade basketball members playing against the faculty. It was a thrilling foul-free pace-setting game of basketball. So thankfully faculty and enough of the players, we had enough to have subs keep coming in and out. But it was a really energetic game, full of a lot of laughs and energy, great teamwork on both sides. I think the kids really enjoyed it. And, at the end, it was the experience and age took over. And we defeated those 8th graders and and lived to tell about it. So it was a lot of fun. We appreciate that. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Consent items, claims and payroll. Everybody sign off on them?
I have not,
I have
honestly.
not either. And is there any correspondence?
No, there isn't.
Okay. And next up, discussion items, fiscal year 20 school calendar.
Yes, it's in your packet, and I think there are handouts for everybody. This is the proposed school calendar for the 1920 school year. First day of school would be Monday, August 26th, and we would have 4 days of school that week with a long weekend for Labor Day, both Friday and Labor Day itself, Monday, would be off. 20 days during the month of September. 14th would be Columbus Day, 22 days during the month of October. In November, November 5th would be parent-teacher conferences. And then we would also have Veterans Day recognized on Monday the 11th. Half a day before Thanksgiving on the 27th, and then Thanksgiving itself, and then the following Friday off, so there'd be 17 days during November. December, the break would be the 23rd through January 1st, 15 days during the month of December. January 1st, obviously off. We'll be back on the 2nd, that Thursday and Friday. Martin Luther King Day off on the 20th. February, we're holding February 11th as a presidential primary date with no school. It just appears to be easier for all involved. So that could move around depending on the decision of the Secretary of State as to when actually that day is, but the intent is to take that day off. And then the February 17th would be a half a day with parent-teacher conferences in the afternoon, and then our traditional February break, and that is the last week, so as not to interfere with Massachusetts. March, 22 days, sort of a long haul. And then in April, again, our spring break, the last week. Patriots' Day is on the 20th in Massachusetts, so we take the 27th on as a break. May, 19 days, Memorial Day off, and next year there'll be no snow or frozen rain, so the last student day will be June 10th, and last teacher work day would be June 11th. So that's gone through to recommendation of, we sent the calendar over for Julie, teachers took a look at it, made whatever changes the building wanted to, so this is the calendar that we'd like to move forward with.
Is it possible to have the half-day parent-teacher conferences on the day that there's the primary?
The primary day?
Yes.
Anything's possible. The issue becomes whether the building can handle it's the parking lots, it's a lot of the other things, when you open up the building like that, usually with the primary, they've gotten more contested even amongst the parties, intramural battles. So we really like to rope off the gym, and it's just, talking with the police department, they're really comfortable that there'd be nobody around in terms of the parking lots and the comings and goings with doors opening and everything else. When we do parent-teacher conferences, oftentimes the kids come along and they're running out the side door, they're on the playground, so it can be a problem with so many folks coming here that we don't know. Campaign workers, poll watchers. If it was a little old Plymouth event, we probably could pull it off, but it's gone national now.
It's usually teacher-driven as opposed to parent-driven.
Well, I'm just thinking it for a working parent, if you're gonna have a Tuesday off and then the following week have a half a day, it's not, if you could combine the two, it would be easier for.
I would like to move in that direction if it works with the school schedule,
Right.
or with the other events. I recognize there will be voters here, but it's not a nationally contested primary in this calendar year. It's not a presidential primary this year. That would be 20.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, 2020.
Am I that far ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, it is, you're right. Sorry, thank you. I'm that far ahead. Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. I'm okay. Still, I mean, it's with the low number of students that will be here for teacher conferences, I feel fairly confident that
I
parking will
understand
be-
the issue. I'm
Yeah.
trying to, we were heavily criticized the last time we were open for any kind of election from parents, and the police department had made a very late recommendation that, we close down. It was
Oh,
too
there's
late.
also a
Yeah.
Selectman request at one
So-
point?
Yes, yeah. So
But it was the morning.
we're trying to avoid any issues. If folks are happier with the building shut down, then we'll shut the building down.
Could we move the parent that half day to March?
Perhaps, we can do anything.
I mean,
Yeah.
Only
it's-
because
it-
there's not, we don't have anything going on in March, so it would be, it's just that back-to-back week and then vacation and it can be difficult. So if you moved it to March,
Is there a day that's better than others, Julie? Because I'd like to get this done tonight.
Oh, yeah. I think a Monday would, I think I'll defer to the parents at this point, but probably a Monday would work.
Do we want to think maybe the 9th or 16th? Because once we get going in here, you've got all the play rehearsals and musical.
Yeah.
It
But that's plenty of time
pushes
for-
it out several weeks to not do it that day.
Right, because you can't do it on the 2nd, because that's the same problem. It'll have to be the 9th or the 16th.
Right.
But you may have some families on it. I forget because we have to change the calendar.
Yeah, because wasn't it earlier this year?
Yeah, it was earlier this year.
Yeah, because it seemed like then Keene, UNH were all in the same week.
Yeah.
So that might be that week. I don't know, maybe
The spring break.
16th or
Mhm.
something would be.
You'll just lose some of the PSU parents
Right.
potentially.
Mhm.
What, have we gotten feedback from parents noting that that's a concern, having that, or is it just,
And again, that's the teacher-driven one,
Yeah,
so you may not have as many.
right. I'm curious from your perspective. So how does this impact teachers in terms of the teacher conferences?
In the spring,
Yeah,
we make it work, so if a parent can't come on that day, we schedule it for the morning or the afternoon or whenever they're available. So, and we're happy to do that, so.
Is it necessary to do a half-day for parent-teacher conferences, or can they happen in the afternoon, or is that not in line with the collective bargaining agreement?
They
Well,
usually
we try and
Continue
get,
to a late night.
yeah, we try and combine it in as part of a school day so that we get, we have very little professional development, so we're trying to make sure that we get those 5 days of professional development in.
Thank you.
We get very few spring conferences, a lot of phone conferences.
Let's see, February 11th.
So we're moving it to, say, the 9th work? The 9th of March? Would that be a compromise?
9th of March?
Yeah.
So
That
Would that
works.
work? Yeah.
I don't see why.
and then I'm gonna ask about, just because I am curious, about the Friday before Labor Day. I know historically in the past, the school has been closed on that Friday.
Right.
To ease the students back into
Yeah.
being in school.
Actually, it was a response to parents who wanted a long weekend, that were upset that we were starting after Labor Day.
Yeah.
So that was the compromise.
Okay. Anyone else see anything else that they have questions about?
Nope.
No? Okay. So you need a
Need to make a motion to
Yeah.
accept the calendar with the change. February 17th now becomes a full day of school, and March 9th is a half a day with parent-teacher conferences.
So, motion to.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's right.
It's your first name. Come on, man.
I know, like, what do I have to do now? All right. Nominations, faculty support, staff resignation.
Yes, that'll be after non-public session.
Okay. And co-curricular as well? Nominations?
Yes. yeah.
Okay. And fiscal year 19 financial update.
Yes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right. Let me start with the revenue sheet, which is this, the one single page. The revenues are coming in as expected. Unreserved fund balance, we already have in-house. Catastrophic aid, that's our final number, $60,406. That's due to a state cut. Adequacy is up a little bit, about $11,000, so that sort of makes up the difference between the catastrophic aid cut and then kindergarten aid came in as expected. So basically, our state revenue sources are okay. National Forest Reserve, that will come in a little bit later. Medicaid, $74,000. That's a late arriving revenue, so I'm pretty hopeful that we'll get above the $100,000 target. IDEA is the preschool grant, and that's what we've got in so far. We're on target. We've only billed out one of the special ed programs. That's for a student that's come and gone. So we'll be doing that building a little later. It's sort of fluid anyway. So we're trying to make sure that we get all the final numbers so we don't leave any money on the table. Regular ed tuition, we've billed about $85,000, and so we've got to make up some ground there. And that's actually cash in the door, the $65,000. And then the rest is sort of miscellaneous income. Capital reserve, the sliding walls cost $55,346, so that's exactly what we took out of the capital reserve account. And then the other numbers is as they are. So in terms of school revenue and credits, at the 75% point of the year, 3/4, we've collected 87% of our revenues. So we're doing okay with the revenues. Appropriations is your other sheet. If you go to the back page on available balance, you see us in the negative $10,255. So I made copies of my working sheet. And so if you go down through year-to-date encumbrances, and you'll see some circles, and that's where I will be heading to balance out the budget. We're closing out some encumbrances, and you can see some areas where we're at the 75% mark. So we have 32% left in special ed aid salaries. So we have some movement during the course of the year, so there may be some encumbrances in there that we don't spend. That's on page 3. Got a happy hunting ground here. On page 7, you look at physical therapy and occupational therapy. Those numbers are higher than 25%, so we have our eyes on those columns. Also, out on page 12, under disposal services, electricity, and park and rec salaries. The park and rec crew has spent more time at the high school this year for a number of reasons, mostly construction and cleanup and aftermath. So that number, there should be some available funds left. And also on the next page, special ed transportation. So we're going to see if we can't tighten that up. So the long and the short of it is we're staggering home, but there's hope that we will break even at the end of the year. And that's our projection. We did not project an unreserved fund balance in the next budget. So any money that lands back in the coffers once we break even would be used for unreserved fund balance. But it won't bury us building next year's budget. We gave back over $100,000 last year to help out with the tax rate, and that's a steep hill to climb when you go to set the new rate. It's like spending $100,000 already. So, but all in all, right now there's hope, but it's still a really tight squeeze.
What sort of physical and occupational therapy services are, what's that for?
That's kids that have IEPs. Those services are called for in those IEPs. Mostly comes out of kids that we pick up in preschool, working with the pediatric offices. And some of that, some of those services we get some Medicaid funding for. So those are the kind of services that the federal government will help us out with.
Mark, where do we stand with the adequacy movement to kind of halt the
Right.
funding?
Yeah, there are a few bills right now, Frank, that have gone through the House. One is a fiscal capacity bill, which is really good for the town of Plymouth. That sets a new equation that looks at the ability of a town to raise money in relationship to other towns. That's a significant impact for Plymouth. If that bill goes through, we'll get a significant increase in adequacy aid. Other stopgap bills that have gone through, and they're going to work at combining some of these bills. Blanking on the name of it, stabilization funds. There's a bill that passed the House and has support in the Senate that says we're going to stop cutting 4% a year and go back to FY16 levels of stabilization. That is not as good as capacity by any means, but would be extra money to us when we go to set the next tax rate. And then there's some bigger bills that completely look at the way money is distributed to. So we're really watching those two bills, though, capacity, changing that piece, because it uses the same block of money. It doesn't call for new money, it just distributes the money differently. And stopping the stabilization cuts, those two are realistic. The others are more, I'm not sure what will happen. But hopefully that number will be larger than it's projected to be now, and that's where our help is. I've said this before for Plymouth. The way we're doing business right now is not sustainable. You cannot be sending out $10,000 and $12,000 tax bills to folks and think that's going to sustain it. It's not sustainable, because there are more and more programs and more demands made, not only on the school system but the town. And so people are passing things with the towns will do it, the school will do it, and it's just the way we distribute money. I'm not calling for new taxes. The way we distribute money, though, is it's just not sustainable.
Can I ask a clarifying question here? If some of the special education funding is also going to the charter school, if I can recall correctly?
Yes.
And the charter school is not necessarily drawing from Plymouth taxpayers. Don't they accept students from a number of surrounding towns?
Yes.
So we're in a way we're shouldering some of the special education costs for students that may be out of district as well. Which, that's probably not accounted for in the funding.
It's a good point. But if a Rumney resident is at the charter school, Rumney school would pay for those special ed services.
Okay. All right.
The one thing that Plymouth is on the hook for is Plymouth students that go to the charter school.
Mm-hmm.
We would have to provide busing for them if they wanted, which we don't have to provide busing to kids from Rumney or other places, but the host community gets that. So we currently aren't. We're not giving anyone a ride at the moment, but we are supposed to if they're asked.
If requested.
Right.
Okay.
There's a lawsuit right now with the Conval
Yes.
education, and that's aimed at the stabilization grants? Is
That's aimed at adequacy.
adequacy?
Yes, that's right now, we get about $3,200 per student from the state for adequacy. It's nowhere near the cost of an education. Yeah.
Over years, has it not?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they're going after. And I think a couple of other districts have joined in that lawsuit, so.
How many Plymouth kids go to the charter school? Anybody know?
I don't know, it's a handful.
I think it's under 10.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's under.
Yeah, yeah. Their student group is really spread out amongst a lot of communities around.
That was, my concern was whether or not, I was aware that there was, the students there were from a number of surrounding communities, and I wasn't sure if the total burden for special education costs were from in our district or not. Okay.
Then we have 3 of our districts provide special ed services to kids there.
Okay.
I think it's Campton, Rumney, and Plymouth.
Thank you. Is there any other business?
I don't have any, Madam Chair.
Privilege of the floor number 2. Yes, Jason?
I was wondering when we were going to post because we put money in, so we got 3 teachers per grade level. When are we going to be posting that position?
That's a great question.
Well, we have made a determination that we're going to have 3 teachers in each section. We'll go through the sections so that the board goes in that direction. That would probably be in May.
So you're telling me we haven't decided yet?
No,
We've allocated the money.
the money's there. We don't have a count we're not automatically going to do that. We're going to look at teacher counts and student counts. So we'll do that next month. If the board authorizes the position, it would be posted.
Yes, Ann.
I just want to tag on to what Julie said as a parent of a child who was in the play and be in the building and to watch all the energy and the dedication of teachers, parents, and the students. It was just unbelievable, and just wanted to thank the board for the support, because I know budgets are tight, but it's truly inspirational. And to hear some of the little kids sitting with them saying, I've never seen a play before, just warmed my heart. So it just, everybody benefited tenfold, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say? Thank you for coming. All right. Make a motion to go into non-public session.
Second.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.